Hello viewers, here is a Lakewood box fan. This is, according to the bottom of the box, it is a model 200 DM, it looks like. Well, I recall there being some kind of an ambiguity surrounding this. And if I recall correctly, of course chances of that are kind of slim, but I recall there being some people saying that the model is not 200 DM and that it's 200I or 200Q or whatever it was. I don't remember. I'll look back at the video of this and I will name that box, whatever it's called. I'll put it in there according to the... Anyways, the accurate information will be in writing because I can reference it. It's not going to be... I'm not going to say it right in this video because I can't remember what it was. Anyways, the plug is looking about as good as my brain is working right now. So let's see if we can get that fixed. I don't understand how a plug gets so daggone bent like that. Okay, that should be much better. Now let's plug it in and give it a test. I know it works, but I can't remember how it works. I want to get this cleaned up and use it in the bedroom window at night because this wonderful slow load that it has. It's perfect. It's so quiet and it's so gentle. Actually, it's not that gentle. It's moving a good amount of air. Medium. High. Okay, so it's actually working quite well. That could fare to be cleaned. There's some dust on the blades, but not a whole lot. I suspect this is a very low hours machine. The motor looks pretty clean too. The grills are still white, which is very rare. And it's a shame that we have such a little freak show right there, because otherwise, if it wasn't for that, the guards would be next to perfect. This is a very thin fan. I think it has maybe a 1/4 inch on the 3733. So it shows two things. Number one, that this fan was produced during the beginning of the cheap era. The second thing it shows is that it's possible to make a good quality, good performance box fan that's thin. So before I make any more mistakes trying to talk about this thing, let's begin the servicing. We're going to start by removing the guards. Before I do that, I want to take some pictures. I'm trying to take more pictures lately because I have all these videos and stuff, but I don't have a lot of pictures, and I'd like to. We'll get some pictures of this so that we can see the before and after. Even though more likely than not I'm going to forget to put these pictures into the video, but it's a nice thought. All the grill screws have been removed. Now we have to deal with this cord situation. Now, interestingly enough, it looks like there was never supposed to be a slat there. So, I guess in this case we'll be able to just kind of bend this a little bit, or actually, well, this slat's broken anyways, so we'll just be able to pull it right through. This is the only thing about these box fans that really bothers me. It's a stupid design to have the cord go through the guard. Outrageous. Okay, now we need to get the blade off. Oh, now we can see the motor information's a little better. Okay, I thought we'd be able to see them a little better, maybe not. There we go. There's the inverse of the informations. I have it laying flat on the table like this, and I'm going to try to hold the cage down and pull up on the blade. And it looks like it's going to be really stuck on there. Yeah, it's not moving at all. Okay, so we're going to have to play some games with this to get the blade off. I don't like trying to get these plastic blades off because you can't use any tools really because you don't have access to the shaft in the center, and you can't really use any tools. You can't use any force. I'm going to try to remove the blade a different way. This is method number 2, which lets you get a little more force on it. I'm going to try pushing down. Oh, actually, you know what? This isn't going to work. The case is so daggone thin. There's nowhere to... the blade is hitting the table already. Alright, we're going to have to move on to method number 3, which involves putting the thing on the floor. And so I have to take this cord off because right now I can just do this and have the cord be off the table, but we can't do that on the floor. So we're going to have to push the strain relief through before we go any further. And this is another thing that I really just don't like trying to get off. These are very difficult to remove. This has to get pushed through to the other side, and there's really no good way to do this besides just kind of brute forcing it where you want it to go. We'll use a second screwdriver here. Try to get oh, that's nice. Try to get this to where you can see what's going on. Okay, so I've got both of these drivers over the lip there that holds it in place. Now I should be able to kind of bang it through, I think. There we go. And, well, it's not going to come off as much as I'd like it to, because it won't pull through because the plug, but I'll just put it on the floor like this. It's at least less strenuous on the cord. Okay, I've got the thing on the floor now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand in a corner of it, which this isn't really a great thing to do either. And this will hopefully give me enough leverage to be able to pull it off. It's not seeming like it's going to, though. This is going to be a problem. We got a couple more options that we can try. I have thinking that I'm going to have to drill a hole in the center of this so that I can use a puller. I'd rather not do that because you can see that part of the blade during normal operation. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the last resort option, which is going to be to remove the motor, split the motor, and then put the stator in a vise and see if I can break it. Well, not break it, break the seal that the blade has onto the shaft. I have done that before successfully, but it's not always easy. Although that not being easy is apparently the trend of this project. So let's see here. There we go. Another thing that's not easy. This is not fitting on there. Okay. I'll have to use a wrench. I have to use a different wrench. Okay, I gotta get the socket set out. Let's see if any of these fit. Probably not, just because why would they? That's the theme of the evening. I probably should just stop doing anything and go to sleep. And try again tomorrow. There we go. And let's see, does it not have the... Oh, it does, okay. It's one screw. There's a second screw. Now we need to detach the wiring from the switch, which we actually would have had to do anyways. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah, actually we will, because... No, oh, no, okay. We don't have to fully remove it to clean it. Let's see if I can get this to come off. If I can get this to come off of here. See if I can get this motor apart here. Jeez, even this is really tight. Now I think what's going to happen is the stator is going to stick with the front shell, which is not what I want. Yep, that's exactly what's going to transpire. What I want is the stator to get off. And this is where a third hand would just be phenomenal. Okay, that was almost a fatality, which has transpired. That was very terrible. Okay, so there's our stator. We're going to remember, or I'm probably going to forget, that the wires come out towards the back. Set that aside for now. That was also almost a fatality if that scraped up against the windings themselves. And now we are left with the screws, which are not really relevant yet, and the stator. So now I can try to manipulate this a little bit more. And there, it looks like there's a date code there. October of 1991. I think we're going to have to end up putting this into a vise, but let's see. I like to be as little invasive as possible when it comes to these plastic blades. Let's see if I can just wiggle this off by hand. No. Okay, I'm going to get the vise. We're going to have to install this now. I have some holes in the table where it goes. All this equipment has got to get moved over so I can pull the thing up. This is where it mounts. So move this over here. This is not a production I wanted to open up at 8 o'clock at night. I should have just took the hint from the phone videos before and saved this for tomorrow. Okay, this is installed. It's not as tight as it should be, but just for one task, it'll barely make it by. Okay, so now I'm going to put this into the contraption here, And it may nick up the stinking rotor a little bit. I have to just file it down if that transpires. Okay, and now the shaft is slotted, so it's never going to spin around, but okay, I'm going to put something over here so this doesn't move. I'm going to try to turn it a little bit just to try to break the seal. I think it's starting to come off now. Maybe. Okay, there we go. The shaft is off. I mean, the shaft is off. My brain is off. The blade is off. And it looks like the culprit was some, I don't know what that is, rust? Some kind of glue? I don't know. That's certainly going to have to get taken off of her. Alright, now I got to get rid of this stinking vise thing, and then we can proceed with the video. Alright, with that out of the way, we're going to set the blade aside, and we're going to put the motor back together so that we can clean this shaft, because that very much needs to happen. Let's get that aligned. I did not even get that aligned. Alright, self, get it together here. There we go. I think tomorrow's project is going to be to replace the ceiling fan in here. As you can probably hear, it makes a racket and a half. I don't like noisy fans. Okay, so this is back together now. It's very stiff, of course. Now it's not. Okay, now I'm going to plug this up and we're going to clean this shaft with two things. We're going to clean it first with sanding paper. And I'm going to do it on low so we kind of minimize the overheating issue here. And after I clean it with the sanding paper, I'm going to clean it with detergent oil. This is going to take a long time to get this off here. It's hardly even making a dent in it. It's looking pretty clean now, except for the flat part. The rest of it cleaned up nicely, but the flat part still has that stuff on there. So we're going to have to see if I can manually sand that off. I don't know what that is, but it's pretty hardy. Okay, I think that'll suffice. Now we're going to take some of the red can oil, and there was some commentary recently about these oil cans, and now that I'm looking at these oil cans, the commentary was very accurate. The commentary said, why is it called the red can when the primary difference is blue versus black? And that's a good question, because really the only thing that's red that's blue on here is the writing. The significant color change is black to blue. So I guess we have to revise this, and we're going to start saying that the black can, formerly known as the red can, it does not go in the bearings. However, with that being said, it's not useless. It's very useful, and we're going to use it right now to clean this shaft. Okay, it's not on. Oh. And we're going to make the surface very, very nice and clean for the removal of the front bearing. Because if this is not clean, it will ruin the bearing as we try to slide it off. And that is something we certainly don't want to do. Alright, that's, I think, going to be good enough. Okay, so now we can proceed with the disassembly. I'm going to tap this off here very lightly. And see, that came right off. That's what we're looking for. Very clean, easy removal. And now we can take that out and we'll clean that. And now we have a washer there on either side, which I want to remain on the shaft. Okay, and we got some dust on the table from the cleaning. Now I want to remove the stator from the rear half of the motor. Okay, I guess we'll cut that clip out. Okay, again I'm going to, actually I'll use the smaller driver. Okay, going to slowly tap this off. And this is pretty stuck. There it goes. Okay. So now we can clean the motor. Oh, these tools I've needed to get this far. Good grief. Now, let's see. We want to get the wire out of here. We're going to have to do this. And we're going to have to do that. And we're going to remove the lead from the switch. And this is polarized. Actually, you know what, on second thought, there's no real need to. We can just put the stator in the bag. Yeah, but the way things are going, I'm just going to do that. So let's get the handle off of here. Which is something we have to be somewhat careful with. In fact, removal of the switch first may be better so that the motor is not getting flexed at all. Okay, and so now I can take this, pull this most of the way through, and I can keep the stator away from water and away from any other kinds of danger that may show up. Now for the handle, this is another kind of a flaky thing to get off. Yeah, this part is wearing me out. We got two tabs here. This is kind of like the last handles actually. I'm going to pull this, push that up and out like that. And then I guess we're going to have to intervene with the bottom one as well. And of course if you slip, your hand will slide down and you slice open your skin. I've done that before. Let's see here, what is the problem now? And these handles do break, so you got to be kind of careful as you're bending it to not go beyond the boundaries of what it can handle. Puns intended. Okay. Now, we are ready to do some cleaning. I'm going to put the stator and the switch into this bag so that it stays dry during the cleaning. Everything has been cleaned except for the motor, so that's what we're going to move on to now. Had a little bit of a difficult time getting everything to dry because it's been raining all day and the humidity is 80 something %. So I put some dehumidifiers on and got some fans going and we got it dried out, but it took some time. Anyways, let's get into the motor here. First thing we're going to do is take one of my used ticker towels and put that down, and we're going to brush all the dust out of these windings with a very soft brush. And if it wasn't raining, I'd go outside and use compressed air because that's much faster and works a little bit better, but since it's raining, something just fell. Well, anyway, since it's raining and I gotta work inside, this is what we're going to do. And this is okay, it gets the job done, but it's just not very fast, and it's not super thorough, but that's okay. This isn't really a work of precision. You just want to remove the big clumps of dust so that the air will flow through this as it was intended to. Okay, that's good enough for me. So now we'll get the dust off of these pieces here. It's going to come off real easy. That's good. A lot more dust in this motor than was on the blade. I have to wonder if this was cleaned at some point. Okay, and I have use this towel to kind of wipe off around the motor. This is also not a work of precision, just to make it look nicer than it does now. And actually the paint looks like it's in pretty good condition, so this could look pretty good. Okay. Alright, now onto the bearings. I'm going to take the cleaner towel and I'm going to put it into this kind of a shape, and we're going to clean the inside of the bearing out. It's dirtier than I expected it to be. Okay, and now for the shaft. Clean this off. Alright, and now these, I don't think these have a front and back. I think they're the same thing. Yeah, looks like it. This one's a little nicer, so I'll put that one on the back. Top. I think this was this. No, this was the front. Okay, I think. Doesn't really matter. All right, I will wash that off or dump that out into the waste barrel after the video. Moving on, we're going to get the oil out, and I guess we're going to go through my revised segment here. We are going to use the blue can oil, which is for fans. It says it right there on the can, fans. And we're not going to use the black can, formerly the red can, because you can see there's no fans there. On the blue can, there's a fan. It's right there. So, what I'm going to do is, I want to oil two parts on the shaft here. I want to oil, whoops, this cloth thing here, because that'll retain some of the oil for a longer period of time. And then I'm going to oil the surface, and then on the bearings, well, we're just going to oil the inside the bearing. These oil ports, yeah, anyways, here we go. And this is going to take us several drops of oil. Will absorb it. And hopefully that'll keep the shaft lubricated for a while. Now in theory that's what this is supposed to do. I guess this port puts oil into this cloth material, and then somehow that's supposed to put oil on the bearing, but I don't understand that, because I mean, the cloth doesn't contact the surface of the bearing, so how does that work? I don't know. I've never understood that. I mean, it seems to work. I put oil on those ports before and the fan started spinning better, but it doesn't make any sense. And normally if something doesn't make sense, it's either not true or there's missing information. So clearly I'm missing some information about how those things work. So, that's lubricated. Some extraneous pieces of hair, it's not mine. And now, we're going to put some oil into the, actually before I do that, let's put the stator back into at least one part of it. Now we know that the cord is going to come out kind of like that. So where it says top, we want to put that on the top. And make sure the screw holes align. Just like that. Okay. And now we're going to put some oil into the bearing here. A little bit on the shaft. And we're going to slip this through. And then we're going to wipe off the excess so it doesn't drip all over the table. Okay, and now some oil in here, a little bit of oil on here, and make sure the port faces upwards, otherwise it'll be very difficult to use. And close this up. Okay, something is not quite right here. Is that really how it went? Is it kind of pinched like that? I guess. I don't like that, but something ain't right about this. I think the front was on the back and the back was on the front, because you can see it's got the wear from where a screw was put in. I have this on backwards. Probably doesn't really matter, but since the alignment's being a little bit obscure, I'm going to change it. Okay, so looking at the motor, it's going to mount in here like this. Okay, that's going to go up there. So with that in mind, kind of want it to go. Here's the problem. I almost put this in backwards. It's going to go like this. So let's see here. Maybe now I'll put the back on first. And now the washer has come off. So the port should be up, and that was kind of at a diagonal there. Okay, I'm fairly content with the way that's being. Okay, yeah, that's good. We're going to go with it like that. Okay, all the screw holes lining up. Back onto the stator. Okay, now I think I got this a little bit dirty. So ideally what we're gonna... No, something still isn't quite right about this, because unless that's how it goes, like that, then the port's not straight up. What the heck is the problem here? See, if it goes like that, the port's not straight. That's stupid. But looking at these holes, there's literally no other conceivable way that it could possibly go. The stator side, the cover would go on like that, so the port is just crooked? I can't fathom that's the way it was. So let's look at the picture. Oh wow, look at that. The port is crooked. See, there it is right there. The port's crooked. Alright, I guess I am doing it right. That's why it's always good to take pictures of things before you take them apart, because sometimes you need a point of reference. If I didn't have that picture, I'd be going nuts over this thing. Okay, well, I guess we'll just put the front cover back on and get the port as close to straight up as possible. I never saw it because the blade was in the way, so I'm not sure where it would have been. Well, we'll just go for it like that. We'll put it at the same angle. You know what's weird about this motor is the motor. I gotta go to sleep. The screw holes were not cut in very well. You know, that may be because it's using machine screws and not machine screws, threading, self-tapping screws instead of machine screws, so we get left with that crummy, dangerous situation there with the shards. Anyways, it's time to put this back together now. And let's see, where are those bolts? They're going to go through here. Actually, it goes through the front. And actually, I'm a little surprised I was able to get this off, because a lot of these have a square head up at the top. Well, not at the head, but just below there's like a square, and that will sit in there and keep it from spinning. But this doesn't have that, so I'm really surprised I was able to even remove the bolts the way that I did without having that square thing on there. Oh great. Where did that go? Found it. And this does not need to be ridiculously tight, just snug together. Okay, and now let's see how it works. It's a little stiff, which I expected. Now it's spinning pretty freely. There's oil all over the place. Oh, look at that. Now it's spinning real good. Very free. Okay, so that's ready to get reinstalled. Actually, before I reinstall it, I usually do this. Let's put a little bit more oil in there. Let it drip down into the shaft like that, to the bearing on the surface of the shaft. And we'll do that on the back as well. Get off any excess, and if some drips out the back after I put it together, we'll clean it off then. So let's mount this motor. It's going to go like that. First I'm going to push the cord through so that we can get it going up along the side. I think it's going to go behind the motor. Yep, that seems about right. So let's go ahead and screw this in. Still can't believe those stinking ports are crooked. I feel like these screws could strip out real easily. There's definitely some cheap elements to this fan, no doubt about it. But at the same time, it still landslides better than what we have now. Okay. Yeah, the switch was making some noises before, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We can fix that once it's in place. In. Put these wires back in. Okay, and now we have to deal with the strain relief, which actually came out relatively easily, so it may go in relatively easily too. I'm going to put it back in exactly the same position it was before, so it's easy to close when I'm rebending the wire. Okay, that's nowhere near wanting to go in. Give a little bit of assistance here. There we go. Okay. I think we are now ready for the handle, switch, blade, and the guards. The squeaky switch is going to be fixed with the deoxit, so I'm just going to spray a very, very small amount because this stuff costs a fortune into the switch. Okay, what's the pressure? And even just that very small amount was good enough to get it to work again, quietly. Oh dear. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and test it and make sure everything is still working. High, medium, low, off. It's working. Now let's put the handle back on. It goes on a fair bit easier than it comes off. Because of the difficulty that it took to get this blade off, I'm going to make sure that we put a good amount of oil onto the shaft and inside of there. I tried to clean that out the best I could, but I guess I didn't do very well. I'm going to use the black, formerly red, oil can in here. I'm going to put a drop in here, and not a lot, just enough to kind of coat the surface a little bit. I think that drop wasn't even really enough. And I'll also put a little bit onto the shaft. Not enough to get into the bearings, you know, because you don't want the black or formerly red can into the bearings. Okay, today. Alright. Let's put this on. Okay, that seemed like it went on better, or relatively easily. Okay, let's get the guards on. Okay, here's the final piece. It's so noisy, you won't be able to really hear or not hear the fan. Let's go ahead and see how it runs. Uh-oh. What is this scraping? Is the thing not pushed down all the way? No, it's definitely down all the way. I guess it wasn't down all the way. There's not even an eighth of an inch of clearance there. That's really something. Look at that. That's ridiculous. Why is that necessary? Very nice, quiet, slow, low speed. There's medium. And high. Is that balanced? Not bad, actually. It is pretty balanced. Spin down. Very good.